There is literally only one man we can talk about on the focus today, and that of course is Antonio Conte and his position at Tottenham Hotspur. The irate Italian went on an incredible rant during his post-match press conference after his side dropped a 3-1 lead, and it was just one of those things that Jose Mourinho would call football heritage. But now Spurs are in a position where they have to decide the Italian's future. Conversations have taken place today where the club have wanted him to clarify his comments. He took down the leadership of the club over the last 20 years, the fact they've not won anything. He took down players. He told them that if they can replace the manager as many times as they want, nothing will change. He certainly didn't hold back. Now we expect Conte to leave at the end of the season. Our understanding is he won't sign a new deal and that he's of massive interest to Inter Milan and other clubs in Italy, and that is seen as a good option by Conte at this point in time. And Spurs are already having a look around at who could replace him. So who are those names? Who are the people that Tottenham Hotspur are looking at? Well, they could go short term, and that is with the technical coach Ryan Mason, and that might make Spurs fans panic a bit, and understandably so. The club is not out the top four race. I think it's been spoken about like this tirade that Conte went on is somehow because they're out the top four race. They're well and truly still in that, and the club will have to make a decision as to whether they want to keep Conte there because he is the man who can guide them into the Champions League positions and let him go at the end of the season, or make a change now. But if they make a change now as a short-term fix, like Ryan Mason, the man to take them in to the coveted Champions League places, and that's where the problem lies. Mason has done it before. The 31-year-old is respected at the club, loved by the players, and would be a quick option to come in and guide them towards the end of the season. But do they neglect the Champions League positions in giving Ryan Mason the opportunity to steer the ship until the end of the campaign? But that is a genuine option on the table for Tottenham, and one that will be looked at should Conte leave before the end of the season. A possibility that we understand is likely at this point. The relationships are certainly fractured, you could say that, to a minimum. But if they go long term, who are they going to look at? Who could come in? Well, let's talk about a man who's fresh off getting sent off at Old Trafford last night, and that of course is Marco Silva, who's done an incredible job with Fulham. They are flying in the league. Yep, they spent money, but to come up from the Championship and then be in the position that they're in and get some of the results and some of the performances they've had is no doubt superb and highly impressive. We know that he has been on the radar, someone that Spurs and other clubs have had a look at. Not only that, he's a very experienced English Premier League manager with Everton and Watford previously. Now, he might not be a popular choice because a lot of his last tenures haven't ended well, but really, when a manager leaves a club, when is it because they've done brilliantly? Well, one of those managers who could leave a club because he's done brilliantly is De Zerbi at Brighton. Undoubtedly liked by Tottenham, undoubtedly liked by a number of clubs. He has been someone that is attractive of the way he plays football, attractive of the way that he coaches, is a progressive, forward-thinking manager, and would be keen, and we understand, to make that next step up. And Tottenham would absolutely be seen as that next step up for De Zerbi, and would be a manager I think a lot of Spurs fans would be interested to see come in. And perhaps the Potter situation at Chelsea has maybe put people off that kind of veil or gloss that being the Brighton manager and doing well puts on. But I think this situation would be vastly different in the fact that even though Antonio Conte criticised the same people in charge for 20 years, that stability is there at Spurs. And De Zerbi could come in and help them in the market with some smart signings, because you've seen that he's able to make good players great. Now, of course, we can't do this without discussing Mauricio Pochettino. The former Spurs manager, of course, took them to the Champions League final, was adored by fans. And when I was down at the Tottenham Stadium for the AC Milan game, fans were actually telling me in their masses that they would have him back in a heartbeat. Now, that's not surprising because Tottenham have been, well, so far away from a Champions League final since that it's depressing for fans. It's been pretty hard work, even though Conte got them into those Champions League places. And my understanding is Pochettino would be absolutely keen to speak to Spurs. He would have a conversation with them about returning. He's out of work as well, which is attractive. You've no big buyout for a contract. But I think it would be on the basis of a few promises. I think the Harry Kane situation would be vital to Pochettino's return. I think Harry Kane would have to be at the club, that he'd have to know that the star striker is staying for him to return. And that might be the case for a number of managers, because Harry Kane leaving Spurs, that's a difficult situation for Tottenham and some really big shoes to fill for a new man coming in the door. So Pochettino would likely have the conversation, but I think he'd need some assurances of backing and what players are also staying for that to happen. But Pochettino's return to Tottenham, not off the cards, could absolutely happen. We do have to talk about Ruben Amorim. A manager that has been impressing a number of clubs, will be a Premier League manager, will be an elite manager at a top club soon, and Spurs will have to move for him now, or they'll likely miss out on him in future. His Sporting side put Arsenal to the sword in the Europa League the other night after an incredible game that included a halfway line wonder goal and a penalty shootout. They're also in the Champions League places, or fighting for the Champions League places in Portugal as well, and he's won 16 out of his 24 games this season as manager too. He's a manager that's impressing highly, we understand, and we're told that he would be ready to go and really keen to speak to Spurs about the opportunity to take control there and also be in the Premier League. It's where he wants to be. He wants to be in the best league, showing what he can do. He retired in 2017, and the 38-year-old's taken to management by storm. He gets compared a lot to the likes of Pep Guardiola, etc. I think that's just because he's a young manager that's doing well, but fair play, he is a young manager that's doing very, very well, plays really nice football, his training methods are appreciated by players, he likes working with younger guys and bringing out the best in them. He's also got a great attitude, great personality, does well with fans and is liked by fans. Ticks so many boxes as well. However, unlike Pochettino, as we spoke about before, you would need to buy him out of a contract. He's contracted till 2026, so you wouldn't need to pay out for him. But in terms of a Premier League club, that shouldn't be an issue. It's not exactly going to be masses and masses amounts of money, but certainly adds to another string to the thing that Spurs would have to think about before moving for the Sporting manager. But he is on the radar. He would be keen, we understand. He would be keen to speak to Spurs to get his foot into the Premier League, and that is something that could happen. But like I said, if Spurs want him, they need to go now. They can't wait, because this guy will go to a big club. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I'm only going to talk about him because he's going to come up in conversation. But one of those names is Ange Postecoglou, already been put in by punters as a potential replacement for Conte. My understanding is that won't happen. Postecoglou's doing a fantastic job at Celtic. He's won the league for them last season. They're on the way to another one this season. He's won the League Cup. He's in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. He's on his way to a treble this year, and that pains me to say, obviously, but he's been exceptional. His recruitment's been exceptional. His style of play has been exceptional, and he's blown Rangers out the water currently in terms of his Celtic side, and he's got a semi-final against them in the Scottish Cup to look forward to, and has stated himself that you'll be surprised how long he's at Celtic. He's been linked with a lot of jobs, not really out of honest truth, mostly out of people just trying to get clicks on articles, being blunt. And I think that would be the case here. I think Spurs will have an appreciation for Postecoglou, and an appreciation for what he's done, but at this time I don't think it's his job to get. So I think we can draw a line under that right now. I would keep an eye on Thomas Frank at Brentford as well. Another manager who's impressed a number of people with the way his team plays football, his style. He's kind of got that modern attacking fluidity with the grit and determination that you might think of old school. It's fantastic. His Brentford side have been absolutely exceptional, and I think he's a manager that you could see in the running for this as well, but perhaps not as high up the list of the likes of a Poch, Almiron, De Zerbi, etc. But just another manager who seems to be gaining a lot of traction and a lot of attention, and there's a lot of clubs' kind of potential list for takeovers in future, because clubs do get ready. They do get ready for who they could bring in should their manager leaves, because 20-year managers nowadays are pretty uncommon. But the fact of the matter is, Conte's relationship with Tottenham is pretty broken at this point in time. We don't expect him to stay, and that's just some of the names that Spurs are looking at as potential replacements. Who would you like to see come into Tottenham, and what do you think should happen with Antonio Conte? Should Spurs move heaven and earth to give him a new deal, or should he move on? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure you like and subscribe. We've got an amazing video coming out over the next couple of days with my friend and colleague Jack, talking about all things Manchester United as they get ready with new takeover money to go into the summer transfer window. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.